Stop trying to fix your inner critic. Do this instead. Hey, my name is Matt, and in 15 years of helping people transform through life coaching and as an educator in life coaching, I've figured out exactly what you can do to be able to get your inner critic on your side. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what your inner critic is, why fighting it doesn't work at all and actually makes it worse. And I'm going to give you a 3-step process that you can implement that will help you start to work with your inner critic and instead of against it. And it's going to bring more peace and calm into your life. So if you're watching this video, you can most likely relate to the idea of having like this inner critic or an inner judge. It's a voice. Now, for some people, it's a feeling. For others, it's a thought. And for some people, it's like an auditory voice. So I meet a lot of people where they'll say that it's, it's the voice of their father. It's the voice of their mother. It's the voice of, sometimes it can even be, the voice of a critical teacher. But it's a part of you now, and it has an opinion on things that you do. So let's say, for example, you're a coach or you're a leader, you're a business owner, and you're ready to take that like next step in your career or in your mission. And you've got to, put yourself out there in the world, whatever that is. And your inner critic is going to step up and it's going to say these like repeatable statements that you've heard a lot. And it'll be like, no one's going to accept you. What if they figure out who you really are on the inside? What if you fail? You're going to be a mistake. And sometimes your inner critic can be like really mean as well. It's going to really say some things to, like you suck and you're no good at this. And, you're weak, you're pathetic, it depends. Some people's inner critic is, let's just call it medium unhelpful. And then some people's inner critic is like straight out, really nasty and really mean. And now you've probably tried lots of different things to get this to stop. So for example, the first thing that I learned about was mindfulness. I think the first book I ever read from beginning to end, I'm one of those people that's like late diagnosed ADHD. So I'm about to turn 41, diagnosed maybe 2 years ago, but in school, failed school completely. Before that, was expelled a bunch of times. And so I never really got into reading until I was a young adult. And the first book I ever read was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Good book, really starts to explain the idea or the reality that you are not your thoughts, right? You have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. And then the outcome of that is to create a little bit of distance and a little bit of space between you and your thinking. And I remember when I first read that, that was quite powerful for me because I'm like, oh, okay, now I have access to this thing called mindfulness and I can pay attention. I don't have to get wrapped up in every thought. So that's a really good start. I would say mindfulness. It doesn't solve the problem though. It doesn't make the inner critic chill out anymore. It just kind of like detaches you a little bit from it, which is pretty good. Maybe you've tried things like positive affirmations. In the face of the inner critic, they don't really work much at all. Like if you've got a voice that's like, you suck. And then, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I've got this. I've got this. I'm love. I'm love. I'm full of love. I'm beauty. I'm wonder. And then your inner critic just at the end just waits. And it's just like, no, you're not. You suck. It doesn't really change things. It's kind of like trying to bury something that's just coming back. And that's what I would call like fighting it. It's like a tug of war. What can make this worse is stress. So let's say you have a pretty good day, you wake up, you get your coffee, whatever it is in your life kind of falls into place and you think I can handle it today. But then inevitably you have a day of high stress where everything doesn't go your way. And all of a sudden that inner critic's just, in there kind of beating you up. I'd love to know what else you've tried. Jump in the comments and let me know what else you've had a go at that has helped you maybe make a little bit of progress with your inner critic. Maybe it hasn't fully solved it, but it's been helpful. Another thing that I think doesn't really help are mindset strategies and mindset techniques. So for example, one of the things that I talk about a lot is that insight isn't enough on its own, right? We need to move towards this thing called integration, which we're going to talk about today in this video in the 3 steps that we talk about. Insight is enough. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're a coach or a leader, you're a business owner, you most likely have a pretty good understanding of things. So if I say to you inner critic, you're going to go, yep, inner critic. Like I know my inner critic, I know my inner judge. I've probably done some exercises around it. Like you may even know its genesis. So one of the things that I always like to think about is, where did this inner critic come from? I don't agree with the idea that it's just there, right? Like it's just like a thing. So for example, some people will say, it's your ego. It's your ego trying to keep you safe. We all have an ego. Now, that is true, but it's not helpful when it comes to healing this thing. So if I just go, well, it is what it is, right? It's there. It's my ego. It's trying to protect me. So just don't listen to it, right? Like, just distance from it. Just know that it's the ego, call it out, and carry on. I would call that like a management strategy. I don't think that's really a healing strategy. And I think we can go deeper than that. Well, I know we can go deeper than that to actually create some healing. Now, the way I like to think about healing is it lasts, right? So if you think about like physical healing, if you have a broken arm and you could manage that broken arm by just like putting a splint in it and avoiding hitting it and getting it hurt again, then you could probably live with a broken arm. That's management. Or you could put the broken arm in the right environment that it would heal. And then once it heals, it's healed, right? Now, it may have a little bit of a twinge or something like that. Like, you may feel a little bit weak every now and then because it's been broken, but it's healed. Therefore, now it's fully functional. And that's how I like to think about what we can do with ourself, and specifically with our inner critic. We can take it through healing. And that's what we're going to look at today with the 3 steps. Okay, so let's look at what the big shift is here. This is the mindset shift that we have to take to be able to relate to our inner critic in a more of a functional way. So we want to move from fighting it, disagreeing with it, ignoring it, which actually makes it worse, and essentially just opposing that inner critic. Now, I get it, easier said than done, right? Because if you've got this voice in you that's like, you suck, you suck, you suck, it's pretty easy just to say, well, no, I don't, no, I don't, no, I don't. Or maybe you just get defeated and you agree with it. Yeah, I do suck, right? And so it's also pretty easy just to start ignoring it and saying, well, I want to drown this out, right? I want to put on some affirmations. I'm going to listen to some great content. I'm going to read something that's going to inspire me. I'm going to balance out that negativity in a way. Now, the shift is to stop fighting it, to stop ignoring it, and to actually turn towards it with curiosity. There's 3 things I always talk about in coaching and healing. It's curiosity. So we get curious first. I want to learn about you. I want to understand this. I want to stop just reacting to it, right? And I want to start to understand it. With curiosity, I then get understanding, right? So I start with curiosity, then I get understanding. Oh, this is making sense. I'm starting to understand what the purpose of this inner critic is, why it's there, where it came from. And the magic is this, is that when I get understanding, I can land on compassion. Compassion is the healing force in our inner world. Compassion really is an expression of love. Love is a healing force. Compassion is what our inner critic needs from us, which may be an interesting thing to think about, but stay with me. I'll take you through the 3-step process, and hopefully you can apply it straight away in the video and start to notice a little bit of a shift. Now, before we go through the 3-step process, I want to introduce you to a really simple technique or skill that I use with all of the clients that I work with. This is what we teach in the certification that we run, is to be able to create a functional dialogue with ourself, right? With the many, many parts of us, with all the different voices that we have. And so our inner critic is just one of the voices that lives inside our mind, right? It's one of the many parts of us. And so we're actually already always in dialogue with ourselves all the time, right? So you're most likely in dialogue with yourself right now. Like, you're watching this, but you're thinking and you're talking, and part of your brain's got something to say about what we're talking about. You go for a walk, you go for a drive, you have a shower, you wash the dishes. Your brain is talking to yourself. You are talking to you all the time. And so we simply just use that already existing mechanism that's happening all the time, but we use it with purpose and we use it with intention. We start to talk to ourselves and ask ourselves questions. Now, asking yourself a question is actually what thinking is. That is the process of thinking. And most people are just thinking all the time on autopilot, right? So it's kind of like they're not really consciously thinking, they're automatically thinking, which means it's a lot of the old stuff just repeating over and over again. And that's why a lot of people feel like they're at the whim of their thinking or their emotions or their life. They're not really in control. So we just want to start to step back into control, and we're going to ask our inner critic some questions. We're actually going to talk to it. Okay, so here's the 3 steps. So step 1, Next time your inner critic steps up and it has something to say, so it's going to say the thing that it normally says. It might be like, you suck, you're not good at this, they're not going to like you, no one's going to like your content, you're charging too much, like, whatever it is, your family isn't going to fully accept you, blah, blah. Whatever it says, you're going to notice it. And this time you're going to pause. So step one, we're just going to pause and we're going to pay attention, and we're not going to react. We're not going to do whatever the automatic thing is that we would normally do. And we are going to respond. That's step two, but we're just going to pause for now and we're going to pay attention to it. And so I want you to pay a little bit more attention to it than you normally do. I want you to imagine like you're a scientist and you're paying attention to its location. Like, where do you hear it? Do you hear it? Do you feel it? Some people just feel it. Do you feel it? Do you hear it? Does it have a visual that comes with it? Where is it located in your body? I like to slow down and use the somatic process of paying attention to our body, pay attention to our breath. No change can happen if we're in fight or flight. Like if we're stuck in just kind of like, oh, go, stress. We're too stimulated. We need to chill and calm just a little bit. So I just want you to pause, notice its location. Where is it? Where do you hear it? Where do you see it? Where do you feel it? Is it in your body? Is it in your mind? Does it have a feeling that comes with it? All right, put your hand on your chest, take a breath in. All right, if you want, put your feet on the ground. That can really help ground you as well. Okay, step number two, we're going to ask it some questions. Now, the interesting process of talking to parts of yourself is quite profound. It's a really, really simple process. I don't really even think it's a technique, right? Because a technique would be, I don't know, something that may or may not work, something that I might have to believe in. All we're doing is we're tapping into the automatic, natural process that happens all the time, which is you talking to yourself. You're always asking yourself a question. Should I eat that food? Should I go over there? Should I say hello to that person? Maybe I should stay here, right? Everyone does that. And you're asking yourself different questions based on your personality and your history and where you're at. We're just going to utilize that. But what we're going to do is we're going to ask our inner critic a question. And I like to use the process of imagining that it's actually another person. Now, that might sound a little bit strange, but it works, right? Now, I'm not saying everyone's got multiple personalities. That's not what I mean. I mean that we have many, many aspects of us, right? You have multiple aspects of you. You have inner child part of you. You have a professional part of you. You have a part of you, if you've got kids, that gets on their level and is really funny and cute and whatever. And, you have a part of you that only comes out when you go see your friends from school and so on and so on. So you have many, many aspects of you. We're going to talk to one aspect, which is your inner critic. And we're going to ask it a question. But when you ask it a question, I want you to wait. Wait for it to respond. So you're going to ask it a question. Wait. See what it has to say. This is your unconscious mind talking back to you, which is really cool. So your inner critic says, you suck. And we're going to say, thank you. What are you afraid of? That's the first question. What are you afraid of? And then you're just going to wait. And then it's going to say something back. And it might say, well, I want you to get your stuff together. And you're going to say something like, okay, what are you afraid will happen if I don't insert whatever it says, get my stuff together, whatever it said back to you? What are you afraid will happen if I don't get this stuff together? You're going to wait. And that's going to say something back. And it might say something like, you'll be judged. And you go, okay. And then that can be enough for now. We can ask it some more questions, but even just with that, I just want to pause and think, okay, so my inner critic doesn't want me to be judged. It's afraid that something will happen if it doesn't push me forward with this, outdated, old kind of way of pushing me forward, right? But its intention, this is the key, what it says and how it goes about it may not be the most effective way of getting you there. Well, it definitely isn't. It may not be the nicest way of getting you there. It may not be the most compassionate version of communication, but it seems to have this intention that it wants something good for you, or it wants you to avoid something bad, which is inherently something good for you. So just see if you can sit with that for a moment. If you've done the exercise, or maybe you can do the exercise after this. This part wants the best for me. So let's go to step number 3. So what we're going to do now is we're going to acknowledge this part for helping. And this is encouraging you to see if you can step into a place of gratitude for your inner critic. Now, that may be a wild thing. Whenever I've done this exercise on group calls or with clients, and sometimes they freak out and they go, all right, what do you mean gratitude for this thing? Right, but that's the shift. And if we can get a little bit of gratitude, not for what it's saying but for the intention, because it's the intention underneath that really matters. Because we have a good intention, we can change behavior. We have a great intention, we can change behavior. So I wonder if you can turn towards that part and say, thank you for keeping me safe. I can see that the why you're doing it is a good thing. Thank you. Start with that. Just see what shifts inside your body. A lot of the time clients will tell me, oh, it just feels a little bit calmer in my system now. It's like my shoulders have dropped. There seems to be a little bit more space. I can feel the inner critic just calming. Here's an insight. Every single aspect, every single part of us requires to be seen, heard, and understood. Every aspect of you needs to be seen, heard, and understood. You need to be seen, heard, and understood. That is if you think like, what's the outcome of healing? What is healing? I think in today's world, I think a lot of people are very confused about what that actually is. And they go on all these crazy pathways to try and figure it out. But really the outcome is to be seen, heard, and understood. And so we need that in a big picture sense. That's how we can love others. I see you. I hear you. I get you, right? That's what we need. That's what we need to give ourselves. And if we have a part of us that is, let's call it dysfunctional, it needs to be seen, heard, and understood. So we understand now, and we're giving this light of understanding to this protective part that it's trying to protect us. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, here's the last bit. Now, I understand this is a short video and I'm cramming in as much as I can. If you love this content, check out some of the other videos that I've done or check me out on social media, or even reach out if you have any questions. Because I do my best to condense it, but I do appreciate this is a big idea condensed into a small video. So I have to leave a bit out, if that makes sense. But I want you to get the foundations. I want you to get like the core elements of this so you can take it away. And I hope that it blooms something inside you. Something goes, oh, I want to go more on this path and I want to learn more about myself this way. So we want to thank it. Here's another thing that you can do. I'll give you a great question that I love. I want you to ask this part. Another question. You're going to say, okay, inner critic, how old do you think I am? Now that might sound really weird. You're asking a part of you, how old does this part think you are? So the part has an opinion on how old you are. Ask it that question. It'll always say a young age, right? Whenever I do this with a client or with a group or in a certification class, it's like, well, the part thinks I'm 4, the part thinks I'm 7, the part thinks I'm 13. Now, this will go into something a little bit deeper. We won't talk about it in this video, but I'll talk about it in other videos, which is that all of the protective parts that we have, including an inner critic, come from moments of pain inside our life. It could be one moment, but most likely it's many, 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 many moments where we felt unheard, unseen, unvalidated. We felt small. It could be big T, small t trauma. Wherever we felt pain and we were alone with that pain, an inner critic or a protective part was born, and it steps up to say, hey, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to keep you safe. I'm here to stop this from happening again. Even if its mode of trying to stop this from happening again isn't the most functional way of going about it, that's its intention. That's what it's trying to do. And so if you ask the inner critic that question and it gives you an age, now I just want you to do this awesome little exercise. You're going to pause, you're going to turn towards it, and you're going to say, okay, I want you to know how old I really am. I want you to know what I've done in my life. I want you to know where I'm at, because I'm actually not that age anymore. And so I'm about to turn 41. So this is what I would say as an example. I would say, well, I want you to know I'm about to turn 41. I'm happily married to my wife. We've got 2 amazing kids. We have a successful business. I love my life where I'm at right now. And I want you to know that I'm no longer this little child. I'm no longer the person that was hurt. And if you just take a moment to do that exercise, it can be profound, just absolutely profound. I've worked with so many clients where, and I like to do this in the first session when I work with someone one-on-one, where just this session alone blows their mind, because they become aware that they can have this functional, compassionate dialogue with themselves, and that there are parts of them that need to be loved. And if they, as I like to call it the inner parent of their internal system, can turn towards and start loving these parts of them, then their whole system just calms. I like to use the word system. So it's like our inner world or inner complexities. It just calms all of a sudden. For a lot of people, when they do this, they'll feel calm for the first time in so long. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so just before we finish up this video, I just want to share with you a couple of common mistakes people make when they're doing this work. So first one would be expecting your inner critic to go away. There's a guy named Richard Schwartz who developed what's called internal family systems. He talks about parts work quite well, and I recommend you checking him out, reading his books. One of the things that he says, he actually wrote an entire book on this with the cover called There Are No Bad Parts. That just means there's no bad parts of you, even if they seem bad, annoying, you want to get rid of them. You can't get rid of them. And if you try to get rid of them, they kind of like annoying children, just, what are you doing? You want to rid of me? They fight back if you ignore them. So we want to stop avoiding parts of ourselves. We want to turn towards parts of ourselves. So instead of trying to make a inner critic go away, I want you to think about this. I want it to grow up with me. I want it to develop with me. It's an underdeveloped part of you. That's what an inner critic is. It's a childlike, underdeveloped part that's frozen in time. We want to develop it so we can bring it with us. Second mistake people make would be to do this once and just think, oh, okay, yeah, I did that, Matt, like a year ago, and I still have an inner critic. That's not how change works. And I think a lot of people expect healing to be somewhat magical. That's why, I love breath work. I got a couple of friends that do breath work certifications. They're amazing. But breath work isn't something that you should do, go overseas, go to Bali, do it once a year, and then just go back to your normal life and don't change anything. You're going to have a little bit of change. They'll last for a couple of weeks, then you're going to default, right? So all change happens because of a new relationship that we choose to have with ourselves. We need to embed that relationship into our body, our mind, our soul, and that takes creating new habits. And so if you are taking away value from this, if you're finding it useful, I encourage you to start a new dialogue with yourself. Maybe spend 5 minutes every single day just chatting with yourself, or even just catch the inner critic and do this exercise over and over and over again. And you'll start to notice an ongoing and permanent shift because of the permanent relationship that you're choosing to have with yourself. Third mistake that I see people make is trying to make this all just a logical thing. We're using our mind to access our body, right? We're using our mind to access our feelings. And so this cannot just remain an intellectual exercise where we're just yep, got it, understood, boom, boom, boom. Coffee. So many people are addicted to pornography these days, or addicted to gaming, or maybe it's just simply the only way you know how to calm down is through alcohol and cigarettes and drugs or whatever it is. And I'm not shaming you, because I've had so many addictions, horrible stuff, that I've been able to overcome. I have no addictions, which is just the best. It's really the best. And I've done that through the commitment to stop overstimulating myself so I can create enough space to actually feel what I need to feel. So it cannot be logical. It's an emotional shift that we need to commit to. And we commit to that by creating enough space for our feelings to rise. Now, I hope that this video and this conversation about your inner critic specifically has been helpful. One thing that I would say is this is just the beginning. If this work is new to you, please don't think this is just a technique that you just do once or twice. It really isn't. It's about understanding the inner mechanics of how our mind works. So for example, this approach of talking to yourself, again, isn't a technique. It's the landscape. It's the way, it's kind of like if I said moving my arm is a technique. No, it's not. It's just the way my arm moves. Talking to your brain is the way your brain works, right? So I encourage you to continue on in this dialogue because it helps you become more consciously aware of the choices that you're making and why you're motivated by different things. And it helps you bring more compassion and understanding and love into your life. I hope that's been helpful. If you'd like to ask me any questions, drop a comment inside the video. If you found this useful, please share it with someone because this work really matters. And I think that change and healing doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple, right? And through that simplicity, it can be really powerful and it can be really deep.